My name is Marcelo Gonzalez, and today I'm going to be answering 3 out of 10 questions. This is the first question out of all of them. A quadratic function y equals x squared plus 2ax plus a squared, which is the quadratic formula, passes through the point 1, 9. Find the values of a. Okay, so this is a very simple problem. First, we must lay out our quadratic formula, okay, which is this one. Okay, so after that we must substitute our variables, which x equals 1 and y equals 9. So we just simply substitute them and simplify it. So after that, we need to further simplify our answer by subtracting 9 minus 9 and passing it through the other side. And now our third step is to arrange the terms. Now, these two are exactly the same, but we just switched it to the other side so we could have an easier time at solving it. But it is only personal preference. Okay, so our fourth step is to factorize the equation. Okay, and so to do that, you first need to lay out your equation, and you need to find a balance between this number and this number, which is the b and c. And to do that, you need to find two numbers that multiply into c and two numbers that add up to b. And by you do that, like in this example, you need to multiply 4 times negative 2, which gives you negative 8. And then you add them together and you get positive 2. So this works out. And then we can finally write our equation. So after that, we just simply solve it and further simplify it. Okay, so first, to find the first a, you need to write a plus 4 equals 0. So we need to subtract 4 over here and pass it to the other side. So a equals negative 4. Same as the other number, which is a minus 2 equals 0. So we add 2 and pass it to the other side, and we get a equals 2. Okay, so heading next to problem number 4. The length of a bath is 5 decimeters greater than twice its width. Determine the length and the width of the mat if its area is 25 square decimeters. Okay, so this is a very simple problem to solve. First, you have to envision the problem. We know that this is going to be either a square or a rectangle type figure because it has 4 sides. So it tells us here that the length is 5 decimeters greater than twice its width. So we know that it is 5 decimeters greater, so we automatically know that it is positive 5. Okay, but it also tells us that it is greater than twice its width. Okay, so this part is the width right here. So we need to multiply that by 2. So we write 2x plus 5. Okay, and now we have our both sides. We write x here because we don't know what it is. And the total area of the square is going to be 25 square decimeters. And we're going to represent that by writing y squared. Okay, now to our second step. Make our equation. And we're simply going to do that by multiplying the width times the length to find our area, which is the basic formula to find the area of a square or a rectangle. Okay, so now we solve it by using distributive property. So we multiply x times 2x and x times 5. So we get 2x squared plus 5x equals 25. Okay, now to our fourth step, we rewrite it as a difference. Okay, so we move everything to one side, and then we use again our quadratic formula. So now our fifth step is to factorize the equation. So now we lay the equation again, and we need to find numbers that two numbers over here that multiply into negative 25, and we need to find numbers here that add up to 5, positive 5. Okay? So we know that negative 5 plus 5 equals negative 25. And we separate the two into 1 and 2. Okay? So what we are gonna get is positive 5 minus 10. Oh, I'm sorry. It's gonna be 1 times negative 5 and 2 times 10. So we're gonna get positive 5. So we have our positive 5 here, and we have our multiplication over here, which adds up to negative 25, and our multiplication over here, which adds to 2. So now we have our basic equation written to get our answer. Now, our sixth step is to simply solve the equation. So we get x plus 5 equals 0, which we subtract 5, put it to the other side, and we get x equals negative 5. And here we add 5 to the other side, 2x equals 5, so we divide 2 with 5, we get x equals 5 halves, or 2.5. And so now that you have the representation of the x variable, now you simply insert it to the equation to see if it is real and it works. Okay, so we know that x equals 2.5. We chose this because we have to choose the positive version of the x's that we get. So we insert 2.5. So here we have 2.5. We insert the x's here and get another 2.5. So 2.5 times 2 equals 5, plus 5 equals 10. And we know that the length is the same, equal to the other length, and the width is equal to the other width. So 10 plus 10 equals 20, and 2.5 plus 2.5 equals 25. So now we have our area. Okay? And that is it. Okay, so now we're gonna be completing problem number 10, which is a bit more complex and is divided into 3 parts. Okay, the monthly profit in thousands of pesos depends on the T price of the computer if the profit is given by the following function. The profit is this equation right here. P, which is T, which is gonna represent the price of the computer, equals 1.2 T squared plus 1.8 T minus 1.3. Okay, so our first question is, what is the profit or loss if a person sells the computer for $4,000? Okay, so first we must lay off our equation. So we write it right here. And now we must substitute T, which is the profit or loss. It's the price of the computer. So T equals 4,000. So we insert it in the T's, and we know that 1.8 times 4,000 equals 7,200. Okay? And now we insert 4,000 over here. 4,000 squared equals 16 million times 1.2 equals 19,200,000. Okay, so that is what we get. Now we simply add it up and get our result to see our profit, which is right here. We get $19,207,198.70. Okay, so that is the first one. And now problem number B is very similar. What is the profit or loss if a person sells the computer for $10,000? So this is exactly the same, but now we're gonna insert 10,000. So we write our equation and we insert 10,000 for the price of the computer, which is represented by T. So we write it, we substitute it, and then we simply simplify it, and then we get our profit, which is 120,017,998.70. So that is the profit that we're gonna get. Okay, so problem C is a bit more tricky. At what price per computer will the monthly profit be $550,000? Okay, so again, we write our basic equation, okay? But now we must substitute our monthly profit in the P, which is representing our profit. So now we have the complete equation, and after that we subtract 550,000 to the other side so that we can move everything to one side. This is our result. And now, since this is a very complex trinomial, we must use the quadratic formula. Well, not the quadratic formula, the quadratic equation, which is right here. X equals negative b plus minus squared b squared minus 4 times a times c divided by 2a. So very simply, we just substitute the terms. This is what we get. Okay, so we just very simply solve the quadratic equation, which is very simple to follow. And here we get rid of the quadratic of the, yes, we get rid of the square, and this is what we get. We solve over here the addition between these two numbers, and we have 2.4, it is divided by 2.4, so we get 1623.009601 divided by 2.4, which is gonna give us 676.2540005. But since we're gonna be looking at what price per computer will the monthly profit be, it has to be a positive number, or else it would just be non-existent. But since we are actually doing the quadratic formula, you also need to realize that this can be a negative. So you get both negative and positive results. And this is what you get.